Hi everyone, and welcome back to Lesson 6 of the New York School of Design's Intro to Digital Design. My name is Vidal Cyperly Valencia, and I'm a fashion designer here in New York City. And this time we're going to be spending a little bit more time with color within Illustrator. Color can be edited in a very similar way as it is in Photoshop. However, within Illustrator there are a couple of different ways to make modifications, and also, you want to be learning how to utilize these color tools as creating things like color cards or inspiration boards, or coloring up your technical flats into what is usually referred to as a CAD editor. And this time we're going to be spending a little bit more time with... So we're going to get just into how to use the eyedropper tool. It's pretty friendly in terms of the tools. There's not a lot of tricks to it. And we're just going to grab the eyedropper over here. If you hold press, you can see the eyedropper is shared with the measure tool. We're just going to use the eyedropper. That's all there really is to it. It's also the keyboard shortcut is the letter I. And so as you can see, if I select any colors on this image, it shows up here as my fill. And additionally, if you don't have this already, you will need to go over here to your window, and you're going to click Color. When you click Color, it's going to pop open this window probably over here. It may pop it up somewhere else, but for me right now it's over here, and you can see that when I make selections for colors, the fill over here is the same as the fill over here, except for in this case, it's also showing me the various values of each of these aspects of color. So we're going to get into that in just a moment, but we're going to start just by making some color chips here. And so if I select my shape and I go to the eyedropper tool, and let's say I want to pull this blue, this red, and this like chartreusey color out of this inspiration image. Since I have my square shape selected, I can just use the eyedropper on the part that I want, and it's going to make the fill the same as the eyedropper. Because this is an image and there's no stroke, it's not going to copy any stroke. The eyedropper tool can be utilized, as I said in our earlier lesson when we were developing a flat for a t-shirt, that you can utilize the eyedropper tool to copy stroke. And so, for instance, if I have this shape selected and I take my eyedropper tool and I click this dotted line on this square, it's going to copy that in terms of the stroke size. It's going to copy any effects you have on it. It's going to copy the fact that it's a dashed line. So you can really utilize the eyedropper to copy the stroke and the color. But for now, we're going to focus on the color. And so I want this shape to be back like this white square. And I'm just going to take my eyedropper. If it helps to zoom in, of course, some sections are not going to look the same as others. If there's shadows on your image and you select a shadow area, it's going to give you a darker color. If you select a highlighted area, it's going to be much lighter. So you just want to be careful of where you're pulling the color from, because you want it to be representative of the actual color you want. And so if I want this chartreuse color, I think, that looks pretty good. And additionally, if I don't want to lose the stroke on my shape here, if I want there to be a black outline, when I have my shape selected, I can go over here to the eyedropper tool, and I can simply just hold Shift while selecting the color from this image, and it will just copy that into the fill. And so now, of course, these two do not have outlines. We can make that, we can change that just by going back over here to the stroke, double-clicking. Let's make sure it's like a real black, which is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And we're going to click OK. And now we have our stroke on each of these colors. Now, sometimes when you pull a color out of an image, you maybe want to make some changes to it. And there's a few ways to go about doing this, and they all start over here in our color tab. And so you can see over here, currently, this has CMYK, and it has all of these slider bars, as well as this whole little color picker area, which is all following the CMYK format. And I've touched upon this briefly, but CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And that is the color standard you would be using if you are creating print material. If you want this to go through your printer, a printer at the library, you want to be utilizing CMYK, because that is the way printers utilize ink. They utilize cyan, magenta, yellow, and black ink in order to create all colors. Now, if I were to click this shape, right, make sure we have the fill selected because we want to adjust the fill. So you want the fill up in the front here, okay? If I were to then begin messing around with this, if I push the C all the way to 100%, that means I'm adding 100% of the value of cyan. And so that's going to make it, relatively speaking, a little bit more blue. If I adjust the M, it's going to either reduce or increase the amount of magenta that is within the color. Yellow is going to do the same for yellow, and K is going to do the same for black. So if this is maxed out all the way, it's going to be pretty black. This may look optically black, but it's not a true black because this has these different CMY values in it. But altogether, you can utilize this to pick colors and really just make really fine adjustments. You can even select these percentage areas and just nudge them down with your arrow keys. And so if I just want to make it like 3% less cyan, but I want to make it 5% more magenta, I can do something like that utilizing the CMYK sliders. Now, there is another way to make adjustments, and really the difference is going to be kind of in the specific aspects you're adjusting. So you'll see this was done with CMYK, and if I make this selection now on this square, and I go over here where these little lines are on the color tab, and I click this, it's going to let me pick different options for color modes. Grayscale is going to just be grayscale. RGB is red, green, blue. This is for digital materials. If you're going to be presenting a digital portfolio, if you're saving something to be on the internet, you generally want it to be RGB or web-safe RGB, as some websites cannot support certain colors. In this case, we're really just talking about CMYK, as more likely than not, you'll print out some of your sketches, your portfolio, bring that to an interview, but you just want to be cognizant of kind of the purpose of your file. And we're going to